What's up, everybody? And on today's episode of Operation Overhaul, we have this Starcraft passenger cargo van from Chevy. It's got the 5.3 in it, and what we're going to be doing to it is actually doing a transmission replacement on one of these. So this is going to be like the passenger version. You can see it's got like all the amenities for passenger van. It's got the rear AC and all the good stuff on it. But like I said, we're going to be doing a transmission replacement. I already have a transmission, and this right here hopefully goes fairly easy, because we're going to be pulling the dog box off on this just so we can get good come on, get off there, so we can get good access to the bell housing bolts, because you can pull this out and it should be able to access most of the bell housing bolts from up here, and then we'll finish it off underneath, because we do have to pull the like mid exhaust pipe off. It goes from the manifolds to the rear exhaust. It should be like 3 on each exhaust manifold and 2 on the back, I believe. And then after we do that, this is the two-wheel drive, not the all-wheel drive model, but after we do that, we will pull the cross member and all the connectors off of it and do the torque converter bolts through where the starter goes. So make sure you disconnect the battery first. That's the first thing. I've already done that, but you can disconnect the battery, pull the starter out, and take the torque converter bolts out first, or you can do this. There's a million different ways you can do this, but I'm going to pull the bell housing bolts out first, just because it is easy to go ahead and get all this stuff out on top. And we will drain it before we pull it too, because when we send it back in for the core charge, we will send that in, so there's no issues with that. But pull this dog box off. There's some wires right here, but it should have this little latch. I don't know to latch it back. So you just have this latch right here. Pull that, and it should undo that. There should be one on each side. So let me get that and pull this out. I may have to move some of this stuff. I don't know yet, just because of how tight it is. But let me pull this dog box out. Once I do, I'll bring you back and I'll show you everything that needed to be moved and adjusted to get it out. We got the dog box out now, and what I had to do was actually a decent amount of stuff. So on each side of the dog box, you have these covers right here. There's two 10mm that hold them on, and they go in right here and there. And then on the driver's side, you had the same thing. They're about the same location. The driver's side is a black one. You just take those two tins out and you pull back, and that whole plastic cover piece should come off. And the same goes with this side. Two tins and pull, and you should be able to pull it out. Then I had to take this front piece right here off, 4 10mm bolts, and you had to pull the little door out on the front. Hold on, let me show you. So here's that piece. You just pull back and the door should come right off. And I don't know how well y'all can see in there, but there's 4 areas where bolts go. There's 4 10mm, and then you pull back, and that right there will come right off. And once you pull that off, you have this little piece right here that goes to your air conditioner ductwork piece, and that'll pull right out, and this sits right on top of the dog box. Then I had to move the passenger seat. There's 4 18mm nuts right here. They are lock nuts, like nylon locks, but the back has like these little rubber covers over them. You just lift them off, and that's all they do. And you take an 18mm. I just used this, and they weren't tight at all, so I'm suspecting that these had been off before. And then you have one connector right here. It's just this little squeeze tab and pull, and that's the only one that's connected on all of these. Then once all of that is off, you do have 2 on the sides, and then you have 2 on the front that's under this little front cover valence piece. And then you just pull back, and you can pull it off. But like I said, here it is. And here is your engine, and this allows you to get to pretty much about everything on this engine. The good thing about this is if you ever have to change a cam sensor or the notorious fuel pressure sensor on these, it is way easier on one of these than it is on a truck or car or something like that, because I can pull this dog box off in all of 10 minutes. I mean, I know you can get to the oil pressure sensor pretty easy on these in the trucks and stuff. I mean, you just got to have an extension and stuff, and you can reach down into there and get it in probably about 15 minutes also. But the cam sensors are a little bit harder on them, just because you're gonna have to have a swivel and stuff on the trucks to get around this back piece down onto that. But on this, you can just get to it and it's just right there. But that's not what we're changing today. We're doing transmission. So, but if y'all can see, we can get to all of the bell housing bolts pretty easy on the top. Can't tell if that one, yeah, that one don't have one, which I think that's pretty common, because I don't think there's a hole there. I think that's a blind hole on the engine on these. But you got one right there, one a little bit further down, there's one right in the middle on these. See if I can show it to you. Right there, and then there's one right there beside it where this bolt should be. There's one right there, and then there should be two more on the sides, and then I think there's two more on the very bottom, but we'll get those from underneath. But I'm going to go ahead and pull these out. These should be 13s, and I'm going to use a wrench to get these because it'd be a lot lower profile than a ratchet. I mean, I could probably get the side ones with the ratchet, but it's just going to be as easy to get the ones with the wrench. Also, here is your transmission dipstick. Take this right here off. I think that may be a 13 as well, and this is a two-piece transmission tube. See if I can show it to you a little bit better. Right there, once you take that off, you should be able to lift it up, and you can actually pull it out from either through here or through the front of the van. And it's a little bit harder, I think, through the front of the van, just because it does have a little bit more. It's got a snake through, and with this bend you can hit the fuel rails, you can hit some of the wiring and stuff. So I typically lift it up right here and pull it back the opposite way, and you should be able to fish the other end, which is a little bit straighter through all that. But let me go ahead and pull this off, pull some of these bell housing bolts, and then we'll come back and hopefully I can climb underneath and get some of the other stuff off underneath there. Here are your 4 bell housing bolts that I could get to from up top, and they're all the same. They are 15s. I thought they was 13s for some reason. I don't know why. Should have known it's LS and those are 15 millimeters, but we did get 4 on top. We got this one right here, the middle one, and then this one right there on the opposite side. Got that one and the other ear, and we should have, I think, 4 on the bottom that we should be able to get to take that out. And whenever we do that, we can have all the bell housing bolts out. All we have to do is connectors, drain the fluid, the drive shaft, and the torque converter bolts and the cross member, and we should be able to start dropping it down. But first we do have to take the starter out on this. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it is right there, and it should be 2 bolts that hold it on. And once you get that, you can just slide it back, and you can, depending on how high the car is, you can let it hang on the ground, or you can put something down and let it like hold on to that, and you can get in there through there and get the torque converter bolts. I believe this one has 3, don't quote me on that just yet, but it's either going to be 3 or 4. I have to look at the new transmission to kind of see, but I'll show that to you here in a few. But now I'm going to climb underneath there, start taking the starter and the lower bell housing bolts out and the drive shaft. So here is the new transmission right here. We did get a completely rebuilt unit. We got it from O'Reilly's. They did have one of the best warranties on this right here. 3-year unlimited mile warranty. And there it is. Like I said, it is a rebuilt unit, and she actually looks really good. I'm like pretty pleased with it, and it does tell you some installation instructions and all this good stuff right here, and it gives you like tags and all this. It's like a little instruction guide. But here are our quick connects right there. That's where your transmission fluid lines go, and then there is some fluid inside of the box. I don't know if that comes from the torque converter, if it comes out of the tail shaft, or where it come from, but it doesn't look like any is on the transmission. I did look it over already, but here is our vent tube connector right there. We should have shifter linkage on this side right there, and then this right here is a return tag that come with it, so you'll have to return the core. I got fluid all over it already, but it does, like I said, it does have a 3-year warranty on this and unlimited miles, so we'll take that as it is. But it does look to be in pretty good shape, and they do come with brand new torque converters, not rebuilt and not like a used one, but these are supposed to be brand new torque converters. So let me get underneath the car or the van, and we'll start taking some of the stuff off, and I'll show you all that. So here we are under the van now, and the exhaust pipe I was talking about having to remove is this one right here. It goes underneath the belly of it, and you're going to have 3 like this. Try to show you the other side. You're going to have 3 bolts right there. It goes to the exhaust manifold. Your catalytic converters are on this one, but you'll have 3 on each side, and then show it to you right here. Come on. And then right there, you're going to have 2, one on each side, and it comes in from the back. So you're going to have that right there. You're going to have to take loose, and then you can fish this out if you want to through this area. There is a hanger right up there. You can fish it out through this area if you want to, or you can actually wait until you drop the cross member. See if I can show it to you. Drop this cross member right here, and you can kind of just let it come down with the cross member, and you can hold it up on the tail shaft to clear everything, and you can do it that way. It'd be a little bit easier if you want to do it that way. And this does have a drain plug, which is nice. We'll drain it like that just to get as much as we can off of it. And then the drive shaft is right here. You can see it is a slip yoke on this one, and then the back of it, you should be able to pull it out a lot easier. But first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and drain this, start pulling the exhaust. There is a O2 sensor. The O2 sensor right there, and the wire comes over here. I think I already disconnected it on the driver's side from up top. And your lines go in right here as well. And you'll be able to get these off a lot easier once you get this exhaust down and out of the way. And I'm trying to think. Yep, these 2 bell housing bolts on the bottom, and then the 2 on the sides that we couldn't get from up top. So you got 4 more bell housing bolts, and you should be able to pull it out. The starter is right there. So these 2 bolts, one right here, one right there, and then we got a few connectors on it. And once we pull those connectors and the shifter linkage, she'll be ready to about come out. But like I said, I'm gonna drain it first and then start pulling this exhaust. Oh, tip, spray your exhaust bolts down with some penetrating oil and let them sit while you're draining the fluids and disconnecting some connectors and taking the drive shaft out. I typically like to save this exhaust for one of the last ones that we move out before we pull the transmission itself. That way you can let all the bolts sit and penetrate oil while you're doing that. We're draining the fluid now. It took a 15 to take it out, and it was actually really loose in there. So just take that as you will. I don't know if somebody's drained it before or what, but you can tell that fluid is extremely dark. I mean, it's black. We got all the connectors off, and on this one right here, let's see if I can show it to y'all. This connector right here, if you squeeze in on the little flat parts on the side, squeeze it in, you see how it flexes out. But if you squeeze it in, you can pull it straight up. There's one on the tail shaft for the speed sensor. All you do, you just pull a little tab and it comes off. And then the one on the driver's side, that's like your range sensor. It's kind of like a what you call them, ECM connector. It's, here it is right there, actually, right there. I can reach it, but see how it's got like that little slide piece right there. You just pull on the little handle, you can use a screwdriver or something and pull it out, and it will come right out. And that should be the only 3 sensors on the transmission you should have to disconnect. We pulled the 2 O2 sensors on each side, disconnected both of those. Disconnected the drain vent tube on the top as well. I'm trying to think what else I did. Got 4 bell housing bolts out that I had left, and disconnected the shifter. On the shifter, all you're gonna have to do on that shifter is you just pull on the little round eyelet part, and it should come right off. And then there's like a little C-clip, U-clip, however you want to call it, that holds, it's like a blade clip. You just pull it out, and it will let you pull the shifter out of the bracket. Once I get over there and do that, I will show you what that looks like and how we can do that. But I'm going to pull the drive shaft out next. I do have the bolts soaking in penetrating oil while I'm doing this, just to make it easier on me. And I'm just going to let this drain as I'm doing all that, just try to get as much fluid out as I can. So we took the starter off, got the torque converter bolts off. There is a cover that goes around the starter. It is held in right there with a 10mm. Torque converter bolts are 17. This is what they look like right there. And now, oh, we also got the exhaust out of the way. I did pull the bracket off, and it has 2 tail house shaft bolts up here that hold that in. Now, the only thing I got left to do is take these lines out, and then take the drive shaft out. I haven't done that yet. And then take the cross member, and I'll be able to lower the transmission down. Well, transmission is out. And one thing I did forget to take off was the fuel lines over there. There is a 8mm that holds that onto the transmission on that side. That was the only thing I forgot to take off. Now the cross member has 3 bolts. The nuts stay on the cross member. Here's your bolts right there, and they just go through right here, and it's like that on each side. But let me show you the transmission real quick. Also, the drive shaft is an 11mm. Here is the old one right here. The only thing I have to do is switch over this range sensor real quick and speed sensor, and then after that it should be ready to put back in a box and they can come and grab it. But let me do all that real quick, and then that way they can haul it back, because he is going to drop some stuff off at a few other shops, and then he's going to come back and pick this up for me, because he just dropped off some parts for another car. So let me switch all this real quick, and then that way I can get everything switched over and have it ready for him.